What's up, Tiger fans, and happy Labor Day. Sorry for the video being a day late than it normally is, but as most of you had the day off on a Labor Day Monday, which is super sick, and my brother was in town this weekend, but he had to leave early, so we did not get a chance to make a video together. This week's video is going to be really nothing special, I would say, because it was kind of a bland week in Tigers baseball. Mariners came into town, Royals came into town, but a few things did happen this week. Ryan Kriedler made his major league debut. Josh Lester got called up. Miguel Cabrera might be done for the rest of the season, and this offseason with him is going to be something interesting. And we had a few other little things happen. So let's get on into it, and we'll talk about that. So the Mariners series, I actually took notes about this series. Uh, so Matt Manning this week he had two really bad starts, and we're just going to kind of lump these into two. So his last start against the Mariners, he got absolutely crushed, and the Mariners came in. So this is one thing I wanted to touch on in this video. The Tigers pitching staff as a whole was really good about not allowing home runs. And this past 3 weeks, I think the pitching staff is just really, really starting to break down because you look at Matt Manning. Matt Manning was really good. Then he allowed 3 home runs to the Mariners, and the Mariners absolutely bombed the ball. Some of the balls they hit, Ty France hit a ball to right center field that almost hit in the triangle, that hit up in the shrubs, right by where Riley Green got his first home run. And that is a shot. Like, that is a 430-foot shot. He had a home run. Who else had a home run in this series? Carlos Santana, he had a shot in this series that it was absolutely murdered, destroyed. J Rod had a home run this series. That was an absolute piss missile rocket shot, destroyed. So my point being is, the Tigers pitching staff was one of the best at limiting extra base hits and power against them. But right now, man, I think they're really starting to break down, and that has a lot to do with they've gone through so many different starters. They've gone through so many different people in the rotation. They've had to deal with so many starts where guys have gotten hurt, and they've had 3 inning starts out of them, 2 inning starts, just because they couldn't get it done. And the bullpens had to labor. And I think they're starting to break down. And you look at some of their home run to fly ball ratios, it's kind of like, hey, they're due for a couple more shots against them. Because, I mean, you look like Andrew Chafin went through that stretch where he went back-to-back appearances, giving up a home run. Gregory Soto had given up a home run, only a second one all year the other day. Jason Foley gave up a grand slam to Kyle Isbell, and he had done a pretty good job limiting the gopher ball. Alex Lang's had some inconsistent appearances, but I don't think it should be, hey, let's dog the bullpen. I think it should be like, man, this bullpen has pitched super well. And it's the fact that they've pitched so many innings and they've covered the rotation's ass for so many. Because like guys like Willie Peralta and Tyler Alexander, they've covered a lot of innings, especially Willie Peralta until he got hurt. Because he was that guy that he would come out, or Will Vest, they would come out when shit starts to hit the fan and just cover innings and try to eat innings. And now they've been trying to do that with Daniel Norris, but Daniel Norris has been giving up home runs like crazy because Norris can't pitch out of the bullpen. He can only really be effective pitching out of the rotation because his 2 starts out of the rotation this year were great. I don't think he allowed but 1 earned run. Since he's come back out of the bullpen, he's allowed a home run his last 2 times pitching. So the first game was just an absolute joke. They Manning was out of the game when they were down 6-0. He had no feel for his fastball, no feel for his slider. Every single slider he threw was like a BP fastball. It was just lazy. There was nothing on it, and it was getting crushed. His last start against the Royals was the same. First inning was really bad, but he got out of it unscathed, and then he started to lock it in a little bit for the last couple innings. And then the fourth inning came. He had 90 pitches. So Matt Manning right now, I don't know if he's experiencing some dead arm because you got to think with the innings that he's at. Manning had a ramp up to the season. He only had 2 starts. Then Then he was hurt. Then he was idle. He ramped it back up for Toledo. Got really close to joining the team. I think it was back in June. Hurt his bicep again. Then he was ramped back down. Then they ramped him up, and they had two more starts. So where he would be at innings wise and pitched is right when like guys start to experience some dead arm because and their stuff just doesn't feel the same. Stuff doesn't look the same. And I thought he was hurt because he had a couple fastballs where he threw 89 miles an hour, and you're like, this guy throws 97, and his slider is just so flat. That game against the Mariners and even against the Royals. The Mariners more though. That Mariners team, I am scared for anyone that plays them in the playoffs. People don't talk about that team enough because they're a West Coast team. That pitching staff that they have, dudes like Logan Gilbert and that George Kirby kid, holy shit, do they have really good stuff. And that team plays good defense. That team is just loaded. That offense is not one to sleep on. And I think, when they get in the playoffs, after what I see what they did to the Tigers, because I hear about them all the time on MLB Network Radio, but I mean I don't watch many Mariners games. But man, you want to talk about getting a crash course and getting your ass whipped and seeing how good a team is. That team is good. They are really good, and I feel bad for teams that got to play them in the playoffs because with the Yankees skidding like they are, the Astros are being so good. People not really giving the Mariners any credit. They might go through and steamroll some people until they meet the Astros, and then it's going to be a hell of a series. But damn, are they good! So, anyways, let's keep this going. Second game of the series, the Tigers got swept. I'm not even going to go into it. The Mariners bombed the Tigers. Then the Royals came in, absolutely obliterated Michael Pineda. And then the second game of the series, the Tigers won 3-2. And then yesterday, it was a close game. And then Gregory Soto was out in the eighth. Hinch was trying to get him through 6 outs, but it didn't happen. Bobby Witt hits a ball, takes off a Jimmy Candelario's glove. Tigers end up losing that game 3-2. And they lose 2 or 3 to the Royals and more than secure themselves at the bottom of the division for the rest of the year. So, horrible week. Tigers, I think, only won 2 games all week. Now they go off to the West Coast where they never play well, where they got to play the Angels, who suck just as bad as we do. But they do have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, and Ohtani has been really good. He's kicked it up into the next gear that he had all year last year. And Trout's been hitting a lot better. He's been starting to pound the ball again. So that's going to be a fun series. And then they got to go back and see the Mariners. So if you're like me and you guys have a day job where I don't know how long I would stay up to watch that crap because I don't think the Tigers win maybe 2 games that whole time. Probably 1. It wouldn't surprise me if the Mariners swept them again. But nonetheless, so Michael Pineda was DFA'd. And let's talk about some of the debuts and going forward. Michael Pineda was DFA'd. And it doesn't surprise me because Big Mike, he was really good. You guys got to remember, Big Mike started the season. He wasn't with the Tigers right away out of spring training because I think he had visa issues is what it was. And Big Mike, when he came up, when he first got his first like 5, 6, 7 starts, he was really good, like super consistent. He was throwing really good innings. He was like a typical Michael Pineda, mid-3s ERA guy, giving you 6 innings every single time. It was great. Then he's gotten hurt twice. Once was that fluke injury where he got hit on the hand and it sidelined him. And then another one, I think he had like a hip or something in his core. Since he's come back, his last 7 starts, I think the start that did him in was in Cleveland. He had that start in Cleveland where the Guardians put up like 7 runs on him in 2 innings. And since then, Mike has not had a good start since. He's pitching to almost an 8 ERA over his last 8 starts. The Tigers are literally playing for nothing. They're trying to not be the last place team in the entire game of baseball, which I wouldn't mind because let's get some picks, see what this new GM can do. But AJ Hinch said that, hey, we want to see what guys that are going to be on the team are going to do going forward, and he hated it for Mike. Like, I get it, he's a veteran guy, but he wasn't getting it done. At the end of the day, he wasn't getting it done. You're paying him practically nothing. You're trying to give all these guys looks, like how much you played Ryan Kriedler this past week, and now Josh Lester, he's only up because of circumstance to Miguel Cabrera, and we'll touch on that. So I think what's going to happen is Luis Castillo got called up, so the Tigers are going to carry an extra reliever for a few days. So they're going to have a 4-man rotation. I think what's going to happen is someone's going to get sent back down, and I think Joey Wentz is going to make what Michael Pineda's appearance would have been the next time through the rotation. If you guys don't remember, Joey Wentz, he had made 2 starts this year in Detroit. His first start was not good, but his second start was fantastic. He was cruising through 4 innings. I think he allowed 2 hits. It was absolutely great. And he came out with a shoulder issue, and it sidelined him for quite a few months. Joey Wentz did not even come back to the minor leagues until like a month and a half ago. And he was down. It took him a while to rehab that out, but he's since been at Lakeland, or not Lakeland, but Toledo. And I think he's made like 4 or 5 starts now, so his arm's stretched back out. He's pitching pretty well. I don't know his numbers, but I know when I was following Torkelson when he was down in Toledo, Wentz had pitched, I think, 2 or 3 starts while Torkelson was down there. And I know his ERA was not bad, and I know he was giving him at least 5 innings almost every single time. So I think Wentz is going to get a look. I think that's who's going to replace him in the rotation, and it would make sense. I mean, get him 3 or 4 starts before the season ends. See what you got. You already started. He's already on the 40-man. Doesn't make any sense not to give him a look. And he's stretched out. Bo Brisky, I don't think is coming back. You already know Faedo's done for the year. So I might as well see what Wentz has got because he didn't really. If he would have not got hurt, he would have already had probably 8 or 9 starts, maybe 10 starts by now in the big leagues because he was pitching really good. I mean, you got to remember his first start he got sent down. He was so bad. He had a lot of issues with commands and walks. His second start was great. I think he really had 1 walk and he had 5 strikeouts before he got hurt through 4 innings. So he would have earned himself more starts, kind of like Bo Brisky did when Alex Faedo got called up. There was like a little bit of a thing between Bo Brisky and Faedo, who was going to get called up and who was going to get sent down. And Bo Brisky continued to pitch well, and Faedo struggled a little bit, and he ended up getting sent back down. But they ended up calling him up a couple weeks later as the 27th man for the doubleheader. And then, obviously, he made a bunch of starts, too. So, sucks to see Mike go. You know, he's a good guy, and I'm sure he's great in the clubhouse. I'm sure he's great with all the young guys, but he needs to go. So, let's talk about some of these young kids and their major league debuts this week and guys coming back. So, Ryan Kriedler, I was extremely impressed by. Everything that I said in my last video, the sentiments rang true. He played a hell of a third base. Absolutely made some great plays. He's made plays that Jamer hasn't made there in 2 years. Because Jamer at one time was a good third baseman, but this year he's been absolutely dog shit. Really, the last year and a half, I don't know what's happened to his glove, but he must have left it somewhere because it's not in Detroit. Kreidler made some really, really nice plays, and some of the throws that guy can make are fantastic. You look at some of the plays that he made, you're gonna look and you're like, yeah, I mean, he just made a play from third, okay, but made a play on a dive, and the firmness of his throw and how hard he threw it, because you got to realize the runner coming down the baseline, that's not an easy play. When you got a guy that is in the upper percentile of sprint speed in Major League Baseball, and you got to make a dive, that's time on your feet you don't have. That's time you have to make up with the throw. His throws were so firm and so accurate, and his ability to make picks on the short hop, his ability to make diving plays, the strength of his arm. Then he had a fantastic play against the Royals where he ended up, the game they won 3-2, he ended up deking the pitcher into a balk because he started jumping off second base while the guy was at his windup and he went to throw back because of how far this lead was. I was so impressed. So impressed. He had drawn 2 walks. He had a sac fly. His first major league hit was kind of like a kind of hit. I think it should have been an error because the first ball that he saw, he ripped up the middle, but the shift was on, and that ball was a piss seed. But he ripped up the middle, and it was caught. And then he ended up getting that hit, that Hunter Dozier bobble. Then he ended up getting a bloop single, which it all counts the same as the box score. So he went 2 for 2, but he had a couple walks, only struck out twice. His didn't really have any bad plate appearances against the Royals, and the Royals threw some guys at him that have nasty stuff. I mean, they got some guys that got some good stuff and good sliders, especially out of the bullpen, and he handled it well. Looked absolutely great. He played, and it didn't matter wherever they put him. So he played a couple innings of short for Javier Baez in that blowout game. Looked great there. Played some second. Looked great there. But I think this kid, man, they put him at third base with Javier Baez is there, and that's if they keep him. Because I was talking to my brother, and I think that this is a tryout for Ryan Kreidler to get traded. Because, yeah, he looked great. He looked impressive. But but I think that's what they wanted to see. They wanted him to come up, and they wanted him to, show some of his abilities. Like, hey, this kid can walk. Hey, this kid can hit. Hey, this kid has got a good eye at the plate. This kid can play, has defensive versatility. And I think the Tigers might actually trade him and be kind of like a Eugenio Suarez kind of thing. You got to remember, Eugenio Suarez was only on the Tigers for a few months before they dealt him to the Cincinnati Reds for Alfredo Simon. And I think it could be the same kind of thing with the Tigers with him because, the Tigers want to win now. The Tigers are trying to go forward and they want to win with this core that they have because, they spent so much money on it and these guys are young and they only have so much time together. So I honestly think this could be a tryout for Ryan Kriedler to get traded. And it could go one or two ways. It could go great because, like I used for my example, I remember when Jamer Candelario got called up, when he got traded over from the Cubs, he was murdered the ball. Look at his first month on the Tigers when he was a September call-up. He was great. And he could be a good player for you for a while, and you could trade someone like, that Eugenio Suarez turned out to be. Or, you got a guy that was a flash in the pan and had limited plate appearances and doesn't do anything. I mean, look at Kyle Lewis for the Seattle Mariners, for example. He won the Rookie of the Year, and now he's been hurt every single year, and I think he got optioned to AAA. You don't know. So you can't really get your panties in a bunch about it if this is the case where they're just trying to show him off to use him as a trade chip to try to get a more proven bat, to try to get someone that's going to come in and help them be a for sure winner that has a track record. But could be the case that he could be potentially next year's third baseman. They're trying to see what they have there because they're going to non-tender Jamer. And Jamer's done himself no favors this year. He has been so bad on both sides of the ball, and his inconsistencies, I don't know how they can have this guy be their starter next year. They can't go through another year of what they went through this year with the offense. They need proven people. And that's kind of why I'm thinking this might be a tryout for Kriedler to get traded because they're trying to get proven people. But Kriedler looked great, man. Absolutely great. Defensively, he looked great at the plate. He was stellar on the base pass. He had a big hit when the Tigers, in that last game, in the game they got blown out, he hit a sacrifice fly before the Tigers got murdered. But, yeah, it looked great. Okay, so let's talk about Torkelson coming back up. So Torkelson's first at bat, he ripped the ball center field. It was 105 miles an hour off the bat, and it was right at the center fielder. After that, we've seen a little bit more of the same that we saw before he got sent down. There were some pitches this series against the Royals where he should have crushed it, should have murdered it, but they're foul tips or misses. But I will say, he walked a couple of times, and he didn't look like he was like up there with no game plan. He was up there like thinking about his swing. He looked more comfortable in the box, regardless if he didn't get a hit. I mean, you only played 2 games. But you got to think, he looked more comfortable in the box. It looked like that a couple of the ball, like even his ground ball out that he had, the one ball he put in play, because he struck out twice and he had a pop-up and he had, I think, 2 or 3 walks. So the fact that he only struck out 2 times, I think he walked 2 or 3 times, so that was good. That means he's seeing the ball well. That means he's not expanding the zone to try to do too much. It means he's staying within the zone of pitches he's looking to hit and not trying to overdo something because he's pressing. He's trying to do something. He's trying to hit 3-run homers. And when there's no one on base, he's just trying to stick to his game plan. He's trying to get on base. And that's good. And a couple of the balls he hit off the bat were absolutely piss missiles. You got to understand, I'm talking on a 6 AB sample size because he only played 2 of the 3 games against the Royals. So we don't know if all the stuff that he did in Toledo is going to translate yet. But I will say, from seeing what I seen in that first game, where off of the first hit ball that he hit in the play, 105 off the bat, and then his one ground out that he had, it was 103 off the bat. That's squaring up the ball, and that'll play. So, yeah, he missed a few pitches that we saw him miss that he should have hit and should have crushed. But, I mean, guys, the best major league hitters get hits 3 out of 10 times. You know how many balls Miguel Cabrera's missed down the middle, even when Miguel Cabrera was Miguel Cabrera? It happens. It's a fact that you see him hitting the ball hard, and the fact that, he had a couple of walks. I'm okay with those plate appearances. We'll see I'll have a better grasp of what the adjustments look like and how he's doing this week because I'm sure he's going to get some more playing time over the next week of games against the Angels or the Mariners. And Josh Lester will be in there, but I think Josh Lester, he's only up by circumstance, and let's wrap this up. Miguel Cabrera, it hurt his bicep, not his knee this time, and I think Miguel Cabrera is done. They think that it's going to be a 10 to 14 day thing, but they don't want to put him on the field until he has strength back in that bicep. But what is the point? He's hitting 088 since like July because he's only played like 17 games. He's hitting 088. His on base percentage is like 167. Just sit the guy for the year. There's no point in playing him. He's not productive right now. He had his first extra base hit since July the other day. He's not productive. He's not drawing walks. Everything he hits is on the ground. Just let him out for the rest of the year. Tell him he's done. Because you say 10 to 14 days. Today's like September 4th. You say he goes the whole 14 days. That's almost the end of September. Do you have like 4? Are you going to let him come back for 5 games? That's stupid. Absolutely stupid. So this stuff of A.J. Hinch saying they want him back and they expect him to have that bad. So guys, it's bullshit. Miguel Cabrera is done for the year. It's over. And I don't know if the Tigers would do this like the Angels did Albert Pujols because Cabrera's been a Tiger virtually his whole career. He only played a few years in Miami. I don't know if the Tigers would do this like they did the Angels did Pujols, but I think this offseason they're either going to try to buy him out. I don't think they're going to release him, though. I think they have too much respect for him. But I have a sneaking suspicion that last swing that Miguel Cabrera took when he got called when he came out after the 5th against the Mariners, maybe it was the Royals, I can't remember, it doesn't matter. I have a sneaking suspicion that might be his last plate appearance as a Tiger because they have to do something. They need some kind of a bat. They can't have with a team as bad as up. It'd be one thing if the Tigers were the Astros and they could afford to have a roster spot where or the Cardinals, because the Cardinals have 2 MVPs on their team. They have fucking Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt. They could have had. They let Pujols struggle a good chunk of the season, and Pujols has caught fire toward the end here, and has been a good hitter the last 5 weeks. Miguel Cabrera has never had that power stroke since 2016 or 17. They need to do something. They cannot let this guy have another season like this where he hits 250 with 4 home runs. He was good earlier in the season. He was hitting like 300 at one point in time. He was getting a lot of hits with runners in scoring position. But they can't have this again. They can't have a team next year where they have 5 guys almost hitting under 200. The roster has to churn. The roster has to turn over. The roster has to be constructed different. And they need a different lineup. They need a different approach. They need a different group of guys. Now, I'm not saying they're going to get rid of 9 dudes. But some of these dudes that are on the precipice, and we're going to talk about this at the end of the season, who I think might go, there's going to be changes made. Because this approach, this philosophy, this group of dudes didn't get it done. And they're not even going to score 500 runs this year. Something needs to happen. So I think that might be Miguel Cabrera's last plate appearance as a Tiger because I think that something in the offseason might happen where they buy him out and let him go, or they work out a deal with him to let him retire and he still gets most of his money out of his last year of his contract because they could do so much more with that DH spot. I'd rather see Kerry Carpenter get 400 plate appearances next year than Miguel Cabrera because at least Kerry Carpenter can, he's pretty fucking slow, but he's not as slow as Miguel Cabrera. And you can put him in left field sometimes. So I got for you guys this week. Tigers get absolutely shit-wrecked by the Mariners and the Royals. It was a shitty week of baseball. Ryan Kriedler looked great. Torkelson looks like you can see some of his swing adjustments, but like I said, guys, please keep in mind, it was 6 plate appearances I'm talking about. Sample size. I think Miguel Cabrera might be done as a Tiger. Michael Pineda got DFA'd, but I think Joey Wentz is going to be up here to make a few starts at the end of the season. So, and Riley Green continues to rake. Dude's got almost a 15-game hitting streak. I got to give my boy some love. That's all I got for you guys this week. Have a good one. I'll be back on Sunday. Go Tigers.